All right.
Should we do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about this.
You do the intro.
This is DC. This is my territory.
This is your territory. You know,
You don't do the intros over here.
No, yeah.
This is my
Especially not when we have a guest.
Yeah, this is my territory.
I can't be goofy with a guest.
Yeah.
Can't blow your feet.
What is up, boyos? Welcome to another Spoilercast. Today we're talking about DC. We're moving away from Marvel and we're back to DC. This is the first DC one we've done since the Snyder Cut. Me and Austin, who's over here. He's this guy. That's Austin over there.
Well, I'm over here on mine.
You're so fucked. We're all fucked.
And what everyone else is seeing, he's here. Okay.
Jake is there for me.
Yeah.
and Nick is down there.
Yeah, I'm down here. Austin and Jake.
And down below me, wherever he is to everyone else.
And down below, down there, is your comments and description and like button and the bell for notifications.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so don't forget to ding those little things.
And if you're watching on YouTube, go to twitch.tv/lonercast and watch it live.
Comment with us. We will talk with you.
Yeah. Today we're talking about the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad. We're talking about the Suicide Squad.
Is it the or is it the?
I think it's
not any Suicide Squad. It's not your dad's Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
I think if you're on the West Coast, it is the Suicide Squad. But if you're on the East Coast, it is the Suicide Squad.
Oh,
you know?
It's a dialect thing.
I think that's how it works.
Okay.
I think that's what James Gunn said on Jimmy Kimmel. What'd you boys think of the movie?
Just to make sure we all watch the same movie. This is the one where Jared Leto used condoms to people and it's like has damage on his forehead.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah. That's about the one. It's got Will Smith in it.
Yeah.
And he says, "What is this? For some kind of dawn of justice?"
Yeah, I remember that part.
So, what'd you guys think of the movie?
It's bad, but the new one's really good.
Yeah, same thoughts. Like the bad one, abysmal, but the new one is not that. It's fantastic, actually.
Well, that's the spoiler cast. We'll catch you next time.
All right, see you later. Thanks for joining us.
No, I really liked it, and to put it in perspective, I watched Suicide Squad on Wednesday, so the day before I went and saw it in theaters. So, because I was like, I want to be reminded of what this movie's all about, and I want to compare and contrast. And dude, it is night and day different. Like how good this movie is versus the other one. Like the other one is just. It's so hard to watch. Like you just kind of fall asleep. It's hard not to fall asleep.
Yeah.
They released an unfinished movie, and not unfinished it's not his. Well, it is not his directorial vision, but like they put out a movie that was unfinished.
Yeah. But this movie felt like a passion project through and through. I really enjoyed it.
It felt like a comic book. It's like they took a comic book, took some pages of like a suicide comic book, and they just like put it on the big screen. And I'm like, here you go. They're fighting a freaking giant starfish for some reason.
See, a movie like this was only able to come out after like however 20 plus years of comic book movies leading up to it, of like people and like audiences being more accepting of like having just more outrageous, like stupid comic book shit that we love, like on a big screen. Like 20 years ago, you could not make a Suicide Squad movie where they find Starman. 20 years ago, we had just gotten a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I wonder if this is more like it just took this long for the studios to realize that we can handle this stuff, you know? Like, because I feel like if this did come back out in the 90s, first of all, the visual effects would have blown everyone's minds. But but like, I still think people would have liked it back then. Like, I just think now studios are finally like, especially DC, because DC has been putting out nothing but garbage aside from like a couple of okay movies. And I think they're finally starting to be like, okay, what if we just let the directors do their thing, like Marvel's been doing for years now, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
if this movie did release in 2003 or 2001, I think it would have fit right in because we had movies like Fantastic Four, we had movies like Spider-Man 1, where you go back and you watch those and you're like, what the fuck were we drinking when they made these movies and we were enjoying these movies?
are
It's
you
the
in
same,
or are you out?
yeah, it's the same
You
kind
saw
of
it, Gabby.
it's the same kind of bullshit. It's just better looking, you know? It's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's kind of goofy. But it fits right in with that sort of era, I think, personally.
I think the main thing that made this movie work so much better than the original was they made you care about the characters like so much more. Like for one,
Minus, like the first four guys that die, like
but
Flula, you don't really care about him, and then there's another guy in the ship you don't care about, and
No,
then
like the opening, I was already getting ready to care for Michael Rooker's character.
right.
yeah,
But then
they did.
just
They did
immediately
that.
after that, he like jumps ship and then gets his head blown off.
He doesn't do anything. He does
Yeah.
nothing through the whole movie, and he just dies, and that's fantastic.
I thought that was
I
such a
guess he does save the weasel. I guess that's all he does. But he doesn't. You don't get to see any of his abilities, but they show it off in the opening scene of him like bouncing shit around, and then he just dies, and you never see what he actually can do.
I thought that was such a beautiful misdirect because like in the trailers they kind of set it up like Michael Rooker is going to be like one of the main members and he's going to be like a bigger bad than you expect. But then in the movie, when you actually watch it, turns out he just dies like everyone else. And I think that beginning bit, I think they did set the characters up enough to be like, if the movie's about these guys, I'm okay with it. And then they kill them all. And you're like, oh, there's stakes here. And I think that raises the stakes for the rest of the characters because you're like, anyone can fucking die right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the 2016 one, all that they did to do that was introduce
Slipknot.
Slipknot, and it's like, oh, is that guy? He can climb anything, dog. And then he gets killed like 2 minutes later.
Yeah. They introduce him and they immediately kill him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good way to kind of make all your favorite characters. Like by the end of it, I'm like, oh, Harley's gonna die, you know, because everybody's just dying, and it's been I'm just like, yeah, Harley has potential to die, which is kind of surprising because
when they introduced Bloodsport, right, and they did the flashbacks, because the thing about this movie is like it is sort of like a jumbled, I want to say mess, but like in a good way. Like it's like kind of all over the place, but they do it in a way that I kind of enjoyed that they did it that way, where they do the like Normandy like beach attack, and then they go back in time to when they're recruiting them. So unlike the original where it's literally 40 minutes of introductions of characters, this movie is like, we're going to show you some shit, go back and kind of introduce you to these characters and then do some more shit in the future. But when they introduced Bloodsport or Bloodshot, whatever his name is.
Bloodsport,
yeah, it was Deadshot in the original.
Deadsport,
yeah,
Bloodshot,
Deadsport, yeah.
When they introduced Bloodsport and they're like, your daughter's here, I'm like, oh god, it's gonna be Deadshot all over again. And then he goes out and talks to his daughter and he's like, you're a fucking idiot, what are you fucking doing? And they're like yelling at each other, and I'm like,
it does other things.
Yeah, I thought that was so genius to be like, let's flip it on its head to what you got in the original one, where it's like these dudes are bad and you feel that.
Well, with that though, they still brought it around to the end where his daughter like sees him on screen and she's like, "That's my daddy," and it's like, what? Like, okay, they make it a feel good movie at the end, and it just.
I think it would have been better if at the end she saw it on the news and she just went like, I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah,
that would have been
change the channel, something like that. Exactly.
I think that
would have been better.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking going into this movie when I heard that it was James Gunn doing like Suicide Squad, it's going to be like rated R and everything, I thought that like how they build the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like, oh, what a bunch of a-holes. And then like you see the movie, but like they're a-holes, but like they're likable like rapscallions that a Disney movie could put out. No,
Right.
the Suicide Squad, they are a bunch of a-holes.
Yeah.
They are actually a bunch of a-holes, but they still make them like endearing and likable. Most of them.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like
Well,
that,
especially the ones that they kept around for a long time, like Polka Dot Man. Like I really connected with Polka Dot Man. Like I'm just like, yeah, I like this guy. I feel for this guy, kind of thing. And like you get the sense that he's like, fuck my mom, dude. Like she's a terrible person. And it's like, dude, oh, that's so sad.
Where is she? Where's your mother now?
she's
Everywhere.
She's everywhere.
And it shows the shots
All
of
of
his
them.
mom.
Oh, that was so good.
You should edit this spoiler cast so that for a second we're all his mom.
We're all his mom.
If I had the capabilities, I absolutely would.
That's just going to be the thumbnail.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
They could be that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. that's a good idea.
Yeah. But the only character I really didn't connect with in this one was the shark.
Really?
I think I just he was cute, but that was about it. And I just felt bad for him most of the time because everybody's just like leaving him alone, and he just wants friends because
I think that's the point, right?
Ratcatcher's like, we can be friends, and then nobody's like with him, hanging out with him. He's stuck in the car while they're all out drinking, having a good time, and I'm like, oh, poor dude. Like,
I think that's the point, though, is like he's this.
Like you see, you're caring about him.
Yeah, he's this big, like, he's this big dangerous shark, but deep down he just wants friends. He's just like a big bozo and lovable.
Yeah.
But then he'll eat a guy.
Yeah.
No.
That's true.
almost.
Like when he sees like the little jellyfish.
Yeah,
And they're like,
friends.
oh, okay. He's like friends, and he's having a good time. And then they like get out of the cage and start attacking him. I'm like, oh man.
I thought they were gonna kill him there.
I thought they were gonna kill him too.
Yeah,
I was like,
for a
damn,
second
they're
I
gonna
thought
kill
they
King
were.
Shark.
Yeah.
Um,
But apparently he's fucking unkillable.
it was
Because
wild.
he's like a shark god.
It was
Is
wild.
he a shark god?
I think there's like a throwaway line there somewhere that like he was worshipped as like a shark god.
Oh, that's
He
right.
took all those direct shots from Bloodsport like near the beginning. And
Is that? Yeah.
just
and
knocked him
all of the-
off his feet.
Yeah, that and all of the gunshots after he falls out of the building, and all of like the suction cup fish, and he gets thrown through another building, and he's fine.
Yeah,
You know?
he's super strong.
I guess.
It was wild though. Like characters I did not care about in the original Suicide Squad, I ended up really liking in this, particularly Rick Flag, who in the original one, where I was just like, why is this guy even here? I don't even understand him. Where in this one, I'm like, I actually like this guy a lot. They make him sort of like equal to Bloodsport and the Peacemaker, where he's like just as good a shot as those guys and like can hold his own with those guys. He also gives me, I said this to Nick, he gives me like Mace Windu vibes, you know, where like he can like summon the dark energy. He can relate with the bad guys, you know, but he's not a bad guy.
He's a good guy, but he can. Yeah,
But he
has,
understands.
Like,
he understands the bad guys. Yeah.
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 I liked Ric Flair. Ric Flag. Woo! I liked Rick Flag in this movie a lot. He's built in this one. In the first one, I thought he was like a little scrawny guy who's just like handing out orders and has a love
This
interest.
is Katana.
Yeah,
She's got my back.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, I could go
And
on
then-
about that movie forever. Jesus.
but
Right.
he's like built in this, and he actually has a personality. And then Spoilercast, they fucking kill him, and I'm like, oh man, like
Very unmistakably stabbed in the heart.
they show it off in like an X-ray.
They do like the Mortal Kombat.
Mortal
like,
Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
they're like, we
damn.
really want you to know he is dead. Like he's not
gone.
coming back.
Yeah. So that was sad.
And that fight scene I thought was really fucking cool too, between him and Peacemaker, where like it's in the helmet and the camera's on the helmet and they're fighting and you just watch it through the helmet. It's really cool.
Do you know what that's called? That's called directing your movie. That's not just showing the action very passively. Like that's just having an idea for a shot and how to show the action.
Well, and James Gunn is so good at that kind of thing, because like in Guardians 2, where there's that opening fight scene, but it's all through the eyes of Groot.
Yeah.
It gave me that same
yeah.
sort of like that
Yeah.
same sort of vibe where it's like let's take this fight scene and like turn it on its head and like do something different and weird with it.
How many times will Jake say "turn it on its head" in this podcast?
Well, that's what this movie does. It turns it on its head.
It really does.
And when Peacemaker was done with the fight, he took the helmet and turned it onto his head.
Yeah, he did. He turned it around and put it on his head. Yeah.
But the two characters that I think were absolutely redeemed in this movie from the first Suicide Squad were Harley Quinn and Amanda Waller. Because like,
you think Amanda Waller? I thought Amanda Waller was pretty okay in the original Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, I thought Harley Quinn was really good in the first one.
See, like Amanda Waller was okay in the first one, but I really wanted them to like hammer in like how like not fucking around she is and how like
shitty of a human, how shitty of a human
exactly.
she is.
Which we were able to get some of that in the Justice League cartoon, Justice League Unlimited, and so I was hoping to see some of that, and we got some of that here. Like she was, like, even though with like human lives like being killed by Starro and everything, she was ready to just blow all their heads off, even though they were going to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't care about humans. She cares about America. Apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that confused me about Amanda Waller was she's like stone cold in this movie, but then she gets like knocked out by a frying pan and like doesn't kill those people. I feel like she would have killed them immediately.
I think it was one of those like better to beg forgiveness and than ask permission, and like the ends justify the means thing. Where like if she woke up and saw like, oh, like they saved the day, then
right, yeah. Oh well, yeah.
But that
was also like her thing though. Like she didn't care, and like she almost wanted that to happen.
That's true. Yeah, it is kind of out of character for her to at least not fire those people. You know,
they did say that kind of revenge for that was that they sick those other characters to go pick up Peacemaker and be in charge of him.
Right. Yeah.
But which I'm comparing the first Suicide Squad with this one is that both have like some kind of like Amanda Waller reveal that like, oh, this is what she was actually doing. That's the mission they're actually on. The first one's like, oh, they're just going to pick her up while the city blows up.
Really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't even make a whole lot of sense because like they sent them on the mission before she was there. So they were going to go pick her up even though she wasn't there yet. Well, this one, it's like, yo, Starro is America's fault. And she's trying to cover it up.
Right.
Which, that makes it a lot clearer that she's.
That's true. Yeah. They do
a shitty person. Yeah.
They do a lot better of making her like the antagonist of this movie. Like she is kind of one of the bad guys of this movie. Which is why I'm confused why she wouldn't just murk her employees, because I feel like she would, because now because of her employees, like they're coming back with that data about the Americans bringing Starro to Earth or whatever.
Unless she lets them go, apparently. That was like
the
deal.
They're also like
that
was
like
there's
the deal.
Part of her staff. They're also serving like America or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like in the first movie, she just like, oh, these people aren't cleared to be here, and she like kills everyone in that room in the first movie. So like I feel like she would have just killed them. I don't know. It just felt a little weird. And also just those characters in general felt a little off for me, but I feel like those characters are just setting up the Peacemaker show, and they're going to be a big part of the Peacemaker show. And that's why
I
they
could definitely see that.
Yeah. Which I'm excited for, because I think the standout character of this movie was John Cena's Peacemaker.
He was really good. He was really good.
Like, I'm way more excited for that show now, having seen his character and having seen this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that twist at the end where he's just like, no, we're doing the shitty thing because of freedom.
Because America.
And I was like, oh shit, he's really not letting this go. Yeah. I like that.
And I like the fight between him and Bloodsport. They're both kind of like the same character almost. Like they have the same powers. And I love that
and like
scene
the same
where
backstory, like use anything as a weapon. Like, that's literally what you just said about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do it better than you.
And there's a
I
scene
can-
where it's him, Bloodsport, it's Peacemaker, Bloodsport, and Rick Flag, and it's like these three characters are kind of the same power sets. Like they're all kind of the same guy, but they are all very different characters, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I love that scene when they're going through the jungle and they're just killing all these people. And,
Killing all the rebels.
like
Yeah.
John Cena walks by a guy and just goes
I love that. That
No,
was the best. Where he's the guy sleeping and he just takes a cleaver and goes up his body.
That was the biggest chuckle that the movie got out of me. Just like that whole contest of like, oh, who can kill how many guys in more fantastic.
in the coolest way, yeah. And then he like blows him up and he's just like, fuck. And then he walks away. He's like, yeah, obviously.
He's like, fuck,
But-
you're right. It does matter if it's cooler. And then they get to the like rebels and they're like, how come my men didn't warn me you were here? And they're like, what men? We didn't
Like, oh,
see
well,
you,
We didn't.
man."
There's nobody
Oh,
out there.
no. It's
Yeah.
like,
And I love that they're all the
I've killed them all, and I imagine they were.
I love that they like shoot back to
Yeah.
like Rick Flag and the rebel people. They're like, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
It's so
that
stupid.
wouldn't happen. And
Yeah,
they're like,
it's so
yeah,
stupid.
it's fine. We'll get
Yeah,
more.
like, the leader of like the freedom fighters, like when she saw that all her people were killed, I thought it'd be like, no, fuck you guys, I'm not going to help you. Like that would have made the stakes like worse for the main characters because they don't have these additional people. But they're like, okay, we'll help you anyway, even though you killed like
You killed everybody in the
over
camp.
20 people.
But I thought that was just like a James Gunn like wonky decision where it's just like, what if we just did it for laughs and it doesn't matter? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The scene, we wanted to put this scene in here and we still want to continue the story. So it's just like, whatever, we'll let them join.
yeah.
But
Because you could probably take that scene out entirely and the movie would be the same story.
Well, yeah, but like I think that scene is very important to the characters,
Yeah,
especially when they're
right.
like, I shoot smaller bullets or whatever. And
Right.
that goes back to the end where he actually does shoot smaller bullets.
Right.
How'd you guys feel about it? It kind of felt like a good chunk of the first act that borderline felt like a diversion of the whole side story of Harley Quinn with the Presidente,
I liked it.
like,
I
like them dating and everything.
I liked it.
liked that part. I didn't like the part where she got caught again. I feel like that would have been the escape that she makes, you know, instead of them trying to get her
When she
out
kills
of-
him and then
and then they going and she's like, I just killed that guy. Let's get out of here kind of thing, you know, instead of her having a second place that she has to escape.
Yeah, like you can have like her killing the Presidente and escaping, or like her just being captured and escaping the building. You
Right.
can't have
Right. Yeah, I feel like it would have been better just to have one. Although that scene where she's just like throwing people into the grates, the iron grates, and like smashing their
It's-
faces is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, both scenes were really good. It's just like both of them kind of felt like they took a good chunk out of the movie that they could have
Yeah.
just gotten for her with the other characters quicker.
And they were essentially the same thing, you know. Obviously one had a love interest, and the other one didn't. But it was still just killing in a stylish way, you know.
I liked it a lot because like so you mentioned earlier, Austin, that you felt like she was a huge improvement from the first movie.
Yes.
And I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Like, because to me, it doesn't feel like her character from the first Suicide Squad got brought into this movie. To me, it feels like the character from Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey got put into this movie.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
which is that was already a huge improvement. I like that movie a lot, and I like her in that movie a lot. But then,
Yeah.
you know, when she gets captured and she has this like romance with this guy, and she's like insane, and they're like, "Yeah, you're anti-American, and we like that about you." and like,
Yeah. I
it
did
just,
like that scene.
it makes so much fucking sense that she would be like, yeah, let's fuck, I don't care, let's do this. And then when she gets the javelin and starts fucking killing everyone in that hallway scene is fucking amazing. I don't mind that she got captured again, because I think she like took that into account. She's like, I'm gonna shoot this gun and they're all gonna hear it, and it's gonna be easier for me to get captured and then like break out that way than to like kill this guy and then try and break out that way. I feel like
if they didn't even do that, if like they kind of melded the two and she shoots the guy, finds the spear, and then does that,
I hear what you're saying, but like
I think it would have worked a little bit better. It wouldn't have taken away from the main plot, the plot A of the story.
I think it makes the joke funnier though as well when they like come to save her. The fact that she actually did get captured, because like the first time she didn't really get captured, she was just sort of taken to this guy and was like,
right,
like treated as like a princess.
Yeah. So I think the fact that she was captured adds to that joke, and it also adds to like the stakes of the situation a little bit. But I get what you mean. I get what you're saying, but I think it's like a minor thing that I don't think it hurts the movie at all.
But the two scenes that really sold me on Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn, because I liked her fine in Birds of Prey, but I liked it when she's first introduced, when she gets into like the helicopter and kind of the banter she has with everybody about like, oh, wanting to see a werewolf and all this stuff. Like that was really good banter. But also after she shoots and kills the Presidente and gets that whole like emotional speech of like, oh, I promised myself that if I saw any red flags with the next guy I dated, I would do the healthy thing. Like she's kind of talking to him like they're breaking up, like it's a serious relationship thing. But he's bleeding to death right there, and that's just a really good Harley Quinn moment, just in general.
And they were like literally only known each other for like 6 hours. You know?
Yeah. But I think Harley Quinn from the beginning of this movie is great, because like at the beginning she's like, sorry I'm late, had to take a number 2, and then they get to the beach and they're like, all right, you guys are gonna fight, and everyone's like, what we are? And she's like, all right, let's fucking go, and she like starts fighting everyone, like, and she pulls out the rocket launcher and shoots the rocket launcher at the people. I don't know, I thought she was great throughout this entire movie, but I also really liked her in Birds of Prey, like that scene where they're shooting at her and she's hiding behind the cocaine and she like sniffs it in. It's like,
yeah, that was a good. I liked that movie. A lot.
Yeah, and this felt like a carryover of that movie, because that fight scene in the hallway felt like a fight scene that could have been in Birds of Prey.
Well, they definitely added like with the flowers and the cartoons and stuff. It definitely took from Birds of Prey, because that all of those fights were kind of in that same style.
Well, and it kept cutting between that and like just a normal fight scene, and it's like this is what Harley is envisioning in her mind. Is like when she fights people, instead of seeing blood, she sees flowers, and she's like, yeah, I like it. They prove that she's insane, but deep down she kind of like means well, but she's just crazy. Yeah.
I think it's also because like why I liked her here better than in Birds of Prey is because like she has more characters that I like to interact with and work off against in here than in Birds of Prey, where in Birds of Prey she was largely just by herself and was acting against like characters that were okay but not as strong as the ones that she interacts with here.
Right, yeah.
How dare you?
And
Ewan McGregor is fucking phenomenal in
That's
Birds
true.
of Prey.
He is. He is. But in the first Suicide Squad, I feel like she just does better than everybody in the whole, like in that whole movie. She just is the character, and nobody else seems to be their character, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Everyone's just kind of a blank slate of like, oh, you're in this action movie, you're part of this like elite squad. Well, like Harley Quinn had something to work with, had some kind of character, characterization to work with.
Right, and she was like the only one that had that, and couldn't she? It didn't feel like she related, like you were saying, with any of the characters. There was nobody to bounce off of except for maybe Jared Leto, who was just horrible. So I don't know.
I think the thing that
like
makes
here
her...
she has
Go ahead.
Here she has a lot of characters that she's able to interact with that are about on her level of just like it's like being eccentric,
yeah, for sure.
just like crazy.
Yeah, and
Well, everyone
everybody.
else in all the other movies is just like, oh, like weird clown girl, whatever.
Yeah,
And
I'm
they
a
just do
good
their thing.
shooter. I'm a good thrower. I'm a good, I don't fight because I'm a pacifist. And you're like, what? What is this movie about? Where in this and everybody's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And everybody, all the actors and actresses freaking brought it too. Like Ratcatcher 2 was
Yeah,
excellent.
I
He
really
did
liked her.
such a good job as that character because it's like she's only there for like petty theft pretty much because she stole a bunch of shit with rats. So it makes sense that she's not like crazy. She's just kind of bored and she's just like a nice person. She just ended up in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
So
she's doing like all these petty crimes, but also she has like this ability. So that's
right.
why she's throwing in with like all these other people.
Right. So I don't think she matches, but she's so nice that she like does a good job at caring about all the characters and it really like shines, I think. She was probably my favorite character of the bunch was
I also really liked the
Ratcatcher.
chemistry between her and Bloodsport. Like I bought their friendship,
Yeah, like the father-daughter sort of
almost like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And I also have to point out that her dad is played by Taika Waititi, and
Yes.
there's a lot of like Marvel DC crossover here where like James Gunn directed this movie and Taika Waititi, who directed Thor, is in this movie as well. And like
Yeah.
but and it makes sense because apparently they're working very closely on both Thor and Guardians together right now. So it makes sense that he'd be in this movie. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to see him in this movie.
well,
No, like that moment where you see him is one of my favorite moments in the movie because it just hammers in not so much the message, but kind of like what the whole pathos is with like the Suicide Squad. Is that like he has the lines like rats are like the lowliest creatures, but they
Right.
have their purpose. Like,
right.
a lot like the Suicide Squad themselves. Like they are like the lowest of the low, like crazy criminals, but they have their purpose. And,
Right.
like they're able to do these things.
They're able to do incredible things together. Yeah.
Yeah, like millions and millions of rats eating Starro the Conqueror.
Yeah, Ratcatcher was a character though that I'm like, I hope we get to see her again in something. Like,
Yeah,
I really want to see
absolutely.
her again in something.
She was great.
Yeah,
I want to see some episode of Peacemaker where he's like about to do something and you just see a bunch of rats like attack him and you're like, oh, we know who this is. And
that'd be
like,
cool.
it's
Yeah,
just
that'd be cool.
She controls like a swarm of rats to take on the form of like a dude and like fight him.
That'd be fucking epic, dude. But the exciting thing about the Peacemaker show is that James Gunn is writing the entire show.
Yeah.
Like he's actually writing it, so like it should be pretty fucking good. I'm excited for it. Just to bring it back to Harley Quinn for just a second. Like I think the thing that makes me like Harley Quinn in this movie much more than the first movie is in the first movie, and this goes for a lot of the characters, including like the Boomerang guy and even Deadshot, like they're like, we need a team to counter Superman. And it's like, well, what is Harley Quinn gonna do against fucking Superman? But in this movie, it's like, we're sending you off to do some shitty mission that no one else wants to do. And it's like, that makes sense for these characters that they're gonna go off and do this mission, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
But,
she was sent off. She was sent off, like not thinking that she was going to come back from it. Like they were just like the squad to like literally get killed and like from the hellfire as the distraction for the real squad that was going to actually do the mission.
Which is interesting that Rick Flag was not with the
squad. It seems kind of
Right.
shitty, honestly, that he was in that squad and didn't know about the second squad. You know,
I think that adds to how ruthless Amanda Waller is. She's like, I don't care. I don't care about Rick Flag, you know?
Yeah. Man, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Yeah.
The ending scene with the starfish, I liked Starro a lot. Like, I like the fact that he like, or she or whatever they are, like takes control of like people and like can communicate and is like, I was just up in the stars and I just was
love the stars. I was happy with the stars.
I was happy up in the stars. This is my city now. I deserve it. And it's almost like, I kind of agree
you
with
do.
Yeah,
you do.
You don't seem that bad. Like
Starro was like the victim in
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a lot of the situation leading up to them.
Yeah.
yeah. It's true.
But
I think
a
the
little,
only.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
A little detail I liked is that in like comics and like animated shows and everything, like Starro, it's just like, oh, like it's on your face, and it's like a face hugger where you're like, oh, you just rip it off, and it's there. Where you see some people in like the lab where like they try to take it off, and it's just a big like mark of like blood of like it ripped the skin off the person's face.
Yeah, like ate their whole skin off to the bone or
like,
something. Yeah.
like it attaches itself to your face. It was just a little grisly detail I liked.
I also thought that they were it was like a little convenient that they're like, cover your face. And they were all like, okay. And then they just covered their face and they were fine. You would have thought that they would like be more aggressive and like keep coming at you, but it felt like plot convenience, but that's okay. I mean,
especially in this age of COVID, I might add, but, like Bloodsport's mask like was destroyed right before any of that. So
yeah, it was like, yeah, she just puts on a gas mask and nobody else has masks except for, I guess, the shark.
Yeah, the shark
just can't attach to it. Yeah. And I thought that was so funny. He's just
too big.
He's just like they're like bouncing off of him. It's like, okay, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, but like Harley just like puts her hands up, you know?
Yeah.
And
that's just like plot armor.
Yeah, totally.
It definitely is. And I feel like you brought something up about we have to find somebody to fight Superman. And I feel like since Waller knew what Starfish was, if those guys were really even the best picks to fight Starfish, like, because the only people that actually really did anything to Starfish were Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man. And Polka Dot Man probably could have done it on his own just to, like, you know, just like get him in the eyes and he's dead, you know?
That's why he was killed immediately.
Yeah. They couldn't keep him alive because he literally would have killed the whole thing.
Starro saw that Polka Dot Man was the best character. It's like, oh, I'm not having that.
Yeah.
I love that they just killed him too. They're just like, he's dead.
I hated that. I connected so much with that guy.
But I think it goes to show like this is Suicide Squad. Like anyone can fucking die. You know?
Yeah.
And I love Starro too, like, or Polka Dot Man. Like that scene where he goes into the desert or behind the bushes. I mean, and just goes like all of that. Like he's so good. He's a great character.
When you first saw like all of his like glowing polka dot words,
it looked
like,
horrible.
I saw that. It's like, oh yeah, we're definitely in a James Gunn movie. We're definitely in a movie by someone who like likes trauma movies and just really gross like body horror cult movies.
Yeah. I liked his awkward. He felt like the kid who wanted to be cool, but he just didn't know the right things to say or didn't have the right experience to be cool. Like when they're talking to somebody, I think they're talking to like the guy with the I forget his name, the smart guy who controls
the thinker.
The thinker. And then they're like talking to him, and then Polka Dot Man comes up and goes, yeah. And then that's it. That's the whole scene. Like they're trying to intimidate this guy, and he's like, yeah. And it's like, oh, okay.
They kind of did something similar with that in Birds of Prey with Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the Huntress, or she like feels herself as like badass like Huntress, but then she practices like what her catchphrases are in front of the mirror, and like doesn't know like how to interact.
Right.
Yeah, it is very similar. They could totally like, they would be good together in a movie in some capacity. I don't know what, but if they were in a movie together, that'd be great. I liked the movie a lot. I thought it was great.
It was really good. It was a lot of fun. I wish that I didn't spend $35 on it to see it in IMAX.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So Ryan invites us out, and he's like, hey, we're going to see this movie. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I want to see the movie anyway. And then he's like, I got my tickets. We're in this row and this. And I'm like, okay, so we'll sit next to him. And I go online. I'm like, that's IMAX. And the tickets were not $15 or $17 for each person. So I spent
Oh, okay.
$35 to see this movie, and then the next day I come home and it's like it's on HBO Max for free. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I spent $35 to see it in like a format that I don't enjoy.
Hey,
And
you're saving theaters, dude.
yeah, I guess that's true. But I don't need
No,
IMAX in my life. IMAX, I don't like that format. Um,
it
but
depends on where you sit, because my worst IMAX experience was seeing Age of Ultron, which the movie was okay, I might add, but I sat in the wrong. I sat like where I usually sit in a movie theater,
in the
which
front.
yeah, which is fine for like a regular movie screen, but for Age of Ultron, I was like rubbernecking, just like
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing because that's where Ryan likes to sit. He sits there and then he's like, I don't know, engulfed in the movie, right? So we sat next to him and the chairs only come up. You probably have this problem too. The chairs only come up to like the lower part of your neck. So you're sitting there like this
oh
the whole
right.
time. You're like,
Uh,
oh, after a while, your neck just starts
I
hurting.
I remember I went to a movie with you once, Austin, and you guys wanted to sit up close like that, and I said, "Fuck no!" And I bought tickets in the fucking like in the middle section of the movie theater. So you guys who were all sitting up front, and I sat in the middle. Me and our friend
That-
Thomas sat in the middle, and I had a better experience than you. I promise you.
that might have been Rogue One, maybe.
I think it was Rogue One. Yeah, you're right.
I remember like some people were sitting like far behind us, but
Yeah, it was me and Thomas and someone else.
no. But I watched it HBO Max at this desk, like on this monitor with these headphones, and I had a grand old time. But
Yeah, but you'd much rather see it in theaters.
no, not
No.
really. Like, and no, in terms of like the whole debate of like, oh, a movie's not a movie unless you see it on the big screen. So, like Christopher Nolan's been kind of like touting that.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
James Gunn said something that like movies aren't classics because you see them in the theater. But like he said, Jaws is like one of his favorite movies, and he never saw it in the theater. Like movies are classics because you're able to see them like on TV or at home.
You're able to watch them wherever you can and still
Like-
enjoy them.
Like
Yeah.
a movie is still going to be good if you just watch it on like on your phone or on your laptop or
I
on
agree.
your
I think
fucking watch.
there's a middle ground, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Like you go to theater for the spectacle, not to just adequately ingest the movie.
Right. Yeah. You go for the atmosphere. You go for the people that are there that like give
Like the communal experience.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can go see Endgame and have people scream their heads off when like Chris Evans has Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
There's
He
that.
grabs Thor's hammer
Also,
for sure.
I like the sound system in movie theaters. I also like the experience of seeing it on a big screen. And another thing is like I end up getting distracted when I'm watching a movie at home. I'll like pull out my phone or whatever, and like my TV is next to my computer, and I end up like fucking looking at stuff on my computer. I get more locked in a movie theater. You know what I mean? And maybe that's just like a little bit of ADHD, and like the theater kind of subsides my ADHD a little bit because I'm forced to not pull out my phone and stuff. So
That makes
That is
sense.
true.
yeah, I think that's part of why I like theaters as well. I absorb more of the movie. I have a question though about to bring it back to this movie. What do you think the future of DC is? Like
Shit. It's still shit.
after this movie. Like it does seem though that they're like trying to bring James Gunn in to like reform DC in a way, because they brought him in for this. They brought him in for the Peacemaker show, and
Right.
it's been confirmed that he's apparently going to work on more projects with them. He's done with Guardians after Guardians 3. He's already said like I'm done with Marvel and stuff. So
Well, I brought this up with you, I think yesterday when we were watching Thor, and I'm like, I think WB Warner Brothers is just pulling everything from Disney. They're like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So let's just bring, we're going to have Dave Filoni come over here and work on something. We'll have, everybody who's Taika Waititi or whatever his name is, he'll come over and he'll do. and he'll do something, and I feel
That'd be
like they're just gonna like poach all of these guys
Like
from
I
Disney.
might not have the secret Krabby Patty formula, but I got the next best thing. The guy who makes them.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
exactly right. It's just like, yeah, they know how Marvel works because they've dealt with them. We'll just bring them over here and do that with these characters now.
Like they're learning a bit too late, but they're better late than never. They're learning the lesson that the MCU learned like around phase 2 is to like just trust in your filmmaker to
Yeah.
Yep.
It
make
took
a good
Marvel a
movie.
while to get there. Because me and Nick are
Yeah.
watching the Marvel movies right now, and we just watched Thor. And it's
It's
like,
like
man,
phase 2 is very like corporate mandated, and a lot of the directors don't feel like they have a voice in there. But as soon as they get to phase 3 with like Civil War and like Doctor Strange and like Black Panther, like those are like
Yeah.
directors' movies. So DC's kind of doing that now, like with them doing Snyder Cut and like James Gunn's like the Suicide Squad feels a lot like a James Gunn.
Yeah.
But like the first thought I had while watching, and as soon as the Suicide Squad was over, was that I don't know if DC's movies being wildly inconsistent is a good thing or a bad thing. Because it's a bad thing if because like you get a lot of like crap movies or like just movies, and occasionally like a good movie. But it could be good because the good movies surprise you more. Like
Yeah.
you're not expecting them.
Yeah.
It's like this movie hit a lot harder how good it is because like a lot of the DC movies before that were just
because you were
whatever.
expecting bad movies. You're
like,
like,
I didn't
okay,
know
well
what to
this is
expect.
this is a DC movie. I'm not gonna expect as much as I would as if I were going into a Marvel movie, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you see Black Widow and you're like, oh, that was a pretty meh Marvel movie. But then
Which
you
I
go
haven't I
you
haven't
go
seen Black Widow yet.
and it's pretty
liked it.
average, I'd
I liked
say. But then you go into this movie, which I'm not going to say this movie's average because I had a great time with it and I think it's above average. But you go to this movie and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good DC movie. But it's like you're kind of pulling the average up because all of the shit is so shit. And then in Marvel, you're expecting something better because of Endgame and Infinity War that you're pulling the good down to okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't
So-
know. Like, to me, it reminds me of the X-Men universe. And we also have
Yes.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Because like the X-Men universe was the same exact way, where it was like most of the movies are kind of bad, but every once in a while they would drop one where it was like, that was fucking great, like Logan,
Like First
or
Class or
Days of Future
Logan.
Past.
Days
Yeah.
in Future
Yeah.
Past. Yeah, for
But
sure.
then the rest of them are like not that good. And I'm seeing the same sort of pattern with DC, and I think like DC needs to be careful because I don't think it matters if they drop one killer movie like Logan. The perception of your franchise is still riding off of First Class or not First
Right.
Class, off of X-Men 3 or whatever. And I think the
Right.
same is true for DC right now. People are like, man, Justice League sucked dick, didn't it?
Yeah, they've been too burned for too long.
Yeah, Batman versus Superman was not good. I'm not watching, and I feel like most people didn't watch the Snyder cut. It was fine. I thought it was better, but it was like,
Yeah.
but like I feel like most people didn't watch it. The second Wonder Woman movie was not good. Like they're really in a bad place, and I think bringing in James Gunn to like try and reform it could help, but they need to bring in some filmmakers that are like Marvel did, where they're like, okay, let's bring in some weird picks, like the guys who did Endgame. I can't remember their names right now. But
Brothers.
yeah, or
The
Taika
Russo
Waititi,
brothers.
the
Russo
Russo
brothers.
brothers, or Taika Waititi, who made Ragnarok, which is a weird fucking movie. They need something
But
like
it worked.
that. I don't think
worked. Yeah.
I don't think they should necessarily like just pull all the directors from Marvel.
Yeah.
I think they need to find their own directors and like have
Right.
them come in like they did with Joker.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy's name is. I'm just
Todd
blanking.
Phillips.
Todd Phillips. I'm blanking on everyone's fucking name. But yeah, like they did with Joker, where they're just like, go make a movie. Do what you want to do. Go crazy. And he did. And he made a pretty fucking good movie. And the same thing with Suicide Squad. But then you look at David Ayer's Suicide Squad, where it was like totally just corporate change. Like we heard all the stories about how like he had a version of it and the studio had a version of it, and then they brought in the guys who cut the trailer and they cut a version of it, and they decided to like cut those two versions together, and that's the Suicide Squad movie we got.
Like the first Suicide Squad movie was kind of recobbled in like a panic because like Batman versus Superman did tremendously bad like box office, like compared to what they expected to be, and like bad reviews.
It should have made $1 billion and it didn't.
Yeah, and Deadpool came out around that time too. So they're like, "Oh, Batman vs Superman sucked. Everyone's loving Deadpool, so we got to recobble this movie so it's something that people who like Deadpool would like this."
Right.
Or Guardians. It felt like Guardians.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to make Guardians and they didn't. It felt like they shot a movie like Batman versus Superman and then edited it. That's hard to say.
Edited it.
They edited it like it was Guardians, even though they shot a Batman v Superman. You know what I mean? And that's what Suicide Squad felt like.
I looked at the first trailer for the original Suicide Squad that they put out for Comic-Con. Yeah, like it does not look in any way the same movie.
No, they completely changed it after the trailers. Yeah, it's crazy.
I just hope that after this movie that Warner Brothers learns the right lessons from why people like this movie. And not the wrong lessons. Kind of like how they had Dark Knight and it was a big hit. But what they learned from it is like, oh, everything's got to be darker. Everything's got to be more melancholy and like more grayscale. So we got to apply that to characters that don't really fit that, but it proves success.
Right.
Dark Knight didn't succeed because of those reasons. It succeeded because it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was good storytelling, and they had a good director, and and
it was the director's vision. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
mean that movie alone, Dark Knight, kind of brought the whole superhero shit back, right?
Yeah,
like we didn't. That and Iron Man came out the same summer.
Yeah, so it was like, oh shit, superhero movies are pretty sweet, you know?
Yeah, yes, and Hulk. But that was 2008. Like superhero movies the summer before that, we had Spider-Man 3 and Fantastic Four.
And people are like, wow, these movies kind of suck. And all of the superhero movies that came out before that kind of sucked. They
sucked so much that people didn't even really go see Batman Begins, which was a great movie. And people didn't really see it because they were like, that's a fucking Batman movie. Like,
I remember not seeing it in theaters.
But then Dark Knight came out and just like the buzz around it. And then everyone went back to Batman Begins and were like, oh wow, that's a good movie too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember I think I saw Batman Begins first, but Batman the Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight, it's just the Dark Knight. I remember a lot of people saw that, and then it was just like, hey, have you seen Batman Begins? People are like, is that a thing? It's like, yeah, well, you know, and that's a good movie too, honestly.
It's called the Dark Knight trilogy, even though the Dark Knight's the second movie.
Yeah.
But kind of random small thing of why I kind of like Batman Begins more is just how they portray Gotham City. In Batman Begins, it's like, oh, that is definitely Gotham City. It looks... It's shot in a way and like it's lit in a way that like it's like a modern city. Like you can believe it takes place in modern day, but it doesn't look like a lot of other cities. It looks distinctively a Gotham City.
Right. Go to the especially Dark Knight, that section where he's like flying over everything.
Yeah,
and everybody's kind of losing their mind. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to the Dark Knight. That's just Chicago.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It just seems like DC is gonna start just like pumping shit out and just like hoping for the best. And
honestly, that's what they need to do.
I don't know. Like Marvel has been so consistent in their like timeline and what's the word I'm looking for? Like everything's canon. Like everything's connected.
Right. Yeah.
Well, see, I don't think
DC doesn't care. I
don't think
seems like they were trying to.
I think their strength is that they don't care. Because like it gives them more freedom to like do the kinds of movies they want. Like you can make the Suicide Squad, but you can also make Shazam 2, which is going to be a lot more of a family-friendly movie.
Right, but I think that also goes with like you can have that freedom, but also give the freedom to the creators. Like if you're gonna handhold the creators and go, no, you have to do it this way, then all the shit's gonna be grayscale. You're not gonna have colorful thing. You're not gonna have a spectrum of movies. Whereas since they have no canon, then they can go anybody off the street who has some sort of movie experience come in and fucking do something, and we'll see what happens with it.
I do like agree. Like I think it is a strength for them that they can like just do whatever they want, and it's not connected. And if they want to, they can remake things. They can make another Batman movie, which they are. But at the same time, I would like to see these characters, start to like meet up, and I would like to see some sort of universe because like I like these characters and I like the DC Universe comics, and I like how they're connected and shit. And it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And what we start to run into there is inconsistencies with leadership and the filmmakers. And this happened with George Miller's Justice League movie that he was going to make, where they're like, oh, he's like, I'm making this Justice League movie. It's going to be sick. And they're like, well, actually, Nolan is currently making The Dark Knight Rises right now, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have two Batmans, And then you start to run into these fucking issues. So
but why is that an issue? I don't see that as an issue. I mean, for the normal person, maybe, where it's like you see Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then you have the Justice League, and you're like, this isn't the same Batman. Like, what is happening here? This is supposed to be connected like Marvel, yeah. Where I could see that, but most people can be like, okay, yeah, this is a completely different Batman. Like it's not even tied into this other Batman. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have multiple Batmans going at once, multiple Spider-Mans going at once. Like,
yeah, I think that's what Marvel is starting to lean into with the multiverse thing. I think they're starting to lean into like, hey, we're gonna just kind of start getting weird and wacky over here because they need to. Their actors are getting old, like
they need to
their contracts are running out. They and there's only so many years because like there's only so many years that Marvel can be like, okay, we're staying away from Iron Man because that's Robert Downey Jr. But after a certain amount of time, they're gonna be like, we want to make another Iron Man movie, and,
right?
Robert Downey Jr. is 75 years old. He can't really do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a benefit for the DC universe, right? Like,
I mean, I don't know. They're still having Harrison Ford do another Indiana Jones movie.
Oh my god,
that's true.
He just needs a paycheck, is what it is.
He wanted to do it though, right? That's like why he took The Force Awakens, right? Because he's like, I want to make another Indiana Jones. I thought that was something I heard.
The only way I could see them getting Harrison Ford to have where he wants to do Indiana Jones is if they kill him in the movie.
Oh,
they kill Indiana Jones.
They're totally going to kill him. Yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
just have him die of old age. Yeah,
and then people be like, Kathleen Kennedy ruined Indiana Jones again.
No, dude, like seriously, Harrison Ford is 83 years old. Like,
yes.
Just have him die of old age in Indiana Jones.
Harrison Ford is older now than Sean Connery was when he played his dad in The Last Crusade.
Just have him play somebody's dad.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of tried that already.
And then he can have like the umbrella when he pushes people off of cliffs and stuff.
Well, I guess that's been our review of the Suicide Squad. We got a bit tangential at the end there, but that's okay.
I like that.
That's what this is for.
Yeah,
tangential. Yeah. We just had a conversation. It just led. I'm sorry. It just led places.
We'll catch you next time. Whenever another DC movie comes out, I guess. And any other thing we want to spoil, we'll spoil it. Check out our other things.
Pleasure.
We've been spoiling all of the Marvel movies, me and Nick, so go check that out and check out the Loner Gamecast every Monday at 3:30 on twitch.tv/lonercast. Check out the Jake and Corey podcast on podcast feeds near you. Look up Lonercast. Bye.
Bye.